Hey, this is Kez.
And Will.
And this is Nightmares at Midnight. Hello and welcome back everybody to episode 23, the final episode of our season 1. Next week we are going to be taking a break and then coming back to jump right into season 2. Pretty sure we're going to be doing some alien UFO conversations. Pretty sure we're going to be doing some more ghost stories. I've got a few on the list. But right now, today's episode, Will's here with me. We're going to be doing the
Dadgum Chupacabra.
And before we jump into that, I have to do the spiel because it's the last time before break. If you are listening to us, hopefully you're listening to us on our website, which is nightmaresatmidnightpodcast.buzzsprout.com. Or you're on Spotify, hopefully, and on Spotify and Amazon Music, you can click to follow us, so that way you get notified every time an episode drops. You can also listen to us on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, which, by the way, Apple Podcasts, I've been hearing that a few people have been struggling to find us on there. We are on there. You just kind of got to hunt for us. Then Podcast Index, TuneIn Plus Alexa, Podcast Addict, Podchaser, and Deezer. Then, don't forget to jump over to our Patreon so you can subscribe to one of our groups. You can get bonus episodes. You can watch us record the episode. You can get merch. You can get stickers, all of the above. That is patreon.com/nightmaresatmidnightpodcast. And Instagram. I've been trying to post more on there as much as I can. Instagram is at Nightmares at Midnight Podcast, and if you're following us on Facebook because you're part of our older generation, #me, that's Nightmares at Midnight Podcast. So check us out on there because I post pictures about what our upcoming episodes are, and I share a lot of like the horror genre stuff because I follow a lot of pages through the Nightmares at Midnight Podcast page. Kayla's Kitchen and Closet. Downtown Park Falls is your local one-stop shop. Stop by the kitchen, open Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 2 p.m., where they are serving up your favorites for breakfast and lunch, along with their always tasty lattes, frappes, desserts, and much more. The closet is open Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., and Saturday, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. They have everything you need from lounging at home to attending a special event, including jewelry, shoes, and accessories. Find the perfect outfit, a tasty treat, or just the right gift at Kayla's Kitchen and Closet, downtown Park Falls, or online at kaylaskitchenandcloset.com. Kayla and the crew are always there for you. We are going to jump right into the
Dadgum Chupacabra.
And Will's going to lead this one because, as you can tell, he is very excited to be able to talk about this. I do know some information on it, but he definitely has the majority. So here we go.
Okay, so Chupacabra. We'll start with the name. Literally means to suck goat. As we're going through kind of what some of the stories attributed to the Chupacabra are, to suck goat, to me, doesn't quite seem to do it justice.
I mean, I think it sounds a little vulgar.
Well, it is very accurate of what happens, but if you buy into what all of the accounts entail, this thing really deserves a cooler name.
Okay.
Its name derives from Spanish chupar, meaning to suck, and cabra, meaning goat. Some people leave it just a goat sucker, or some people to suck goat. The initial version did have an S on the end, chupacabras, but once the English-speaking people started, kind of getting involved, that led to a little bit of confusion on whether we were talking about multiples or singles. Getting into the kind of the origins of it, there is a little bit of kind of discrepancy. A lot of people are going to say that Chupacabras originated around 1995. In Badass Birth of a Legend by Ben Thompson, we've mentioned it a few times before, He actually credits it all the way back to a Spanish conquistador back in 1540, Francisco Vasquez de Coronado, when he was looking around for the seven cities of gold. According to the account, his group was attacked in the night by a pack of creatures described as small, gray-skinned men with knives attached to their backs. They drove them off with torches, gunfire, but that wasn't until after this band had drug off a bunch of Coronado's cattle. So Coronado turns around and goes to the Spanish-speaking Zuni Pueblo Indians, who were locals to that area, trying to figure out what these things were. The Pueblo tried to say they were like demons that they've been having on and off feuds with throughout the history of their tribe. Coronado didn't really buy into them being demons, but
So skinwalkers.
I mean, potentially, because even back then, they were these demons from the Pueblo Indians. The common trend, and I think why Ben Thompson probably gives it credit as the Chupacabra, is a lot of the demons would kill the Pueblo Indians and then drain them of all of their bodily fluids.
So vampires.
I mean, that's kind of, what Chupacabra associates too.
I mean, they do later on kind of get associated into the vampire family. But I guess my confusion is, what is the difference between them and werewolf slash... Because they're in the canine family, right?
Well, that depends on which description we're going with. So the first descriptions, obviously the Pueblo Indians described them as short gray guys with knives on their back. And then jumping forward in 1975, there was a bunch of turkeys that were attacked around Puerto Rico.
It was turkeys?
Turkeys, sheep, other miscellaneous farm animals in Puerto Rico. Again, missing all their blood and internal organs.
Yeah, that was in February of 1975. It was 15 cows, 3 goats, 2 geese, and 1 pig.
Okay.
That's what, at least the account that I had read about it. Because those attacks were originally blamed on stray dogs, but the puncture marks from them, then they chalked them up to the Chupacabra.
Which wasn't called Chupacabra yet.
No. They called them Vampiro de Mocha.
Yep, or the Mocha Vampire.
Yep, that's what they called them at that time, yeah.
There's another sighting where Chupacabra surfaced in 1991, again in Puerto Rico. Dogs had their insides sucked out by a monster that left 2 small puncture wounds on their neck and 1 giant hole where their bodies used to be. And then, in 1995 is when there's a big up spike. A lot of them in Puerto Rico. Eventually it moves kind of to the Southwest America, Texas, Arizona area. And when it kind of shifts from that 1995 Puerto Rico sightings to the Southwest U.S. is kind of when the image of it changes. So initially, yes, it was described as kind of a bipedal 3 to 4 foot, sometimes 5 foot tall creature. Some said it looked kind of kangaroo-ish, gray, thick skin, spikes down its back, able to jump quite high. Some questioned the even possibility of flight. Very similar to, also released in 1995, the movie Species, which that kind of, the first-hand account, the woman that they interviewed and described the Chupacabra had recently seen the movie Species, and so there's some speculation on if that led to the description of the creature, because she had seen a movie recently of something that did similar type things.
So a different type of Chupacabra was also reported in many of these same places, and this one was smaller and was on the 4 feet instead of the bipedal, like you said. They were generally canine in appearance, but hairless. Actual specimens were produced of these, but they were identified as coyotes and dogs or canine hybrids by biologists. The Species movie that you mentioned, that frenzy had kind of died down by 2000, but picked back up again in 2004 when something began attacking livestock in Texas. Apparently a farmer shot one of the offenders, and later more alleged El Chupacabra carcasses turned up. They apparently looked nothing like the Puerto Rico original, though, and DNA tests later revealed that they were actually coyotes with a severe case of mange, which, in case you don't know what mange is, it's an infestation of the mite Sarcoptes scabi, which basically means like scabies, which is gross. It was suggested that these canines attacked livestock because the debilitating effects of the scabies or mange put wild prey kind of out of their reach. They couldn't attack the wild anymore. But these coyotes didn't even act like El Chupacabra. When the people were checking the chickens and goats that they had attacked, they all still had their blood, like it wasn't sucked out like the other accounts. So I read about this guy named Radford, and he is a contributing writer to Life's Little Mysteries website and its sister site, Live Science. Radford dug through pretty much every El Chupacabra mention and traced the physical description of the monster to a single event in the second week of August 1995. He had found a sketch from an eyewitness named Madeline Tolentino, and it was ran in one of the Puerto Rican newspapers. So locals immediately tagged the alien-looking animal as El Chupacabra. The creature, Radford noted, shared a strong resemblance to the alien-human hybrid that was in Species that we talked about. When he spoke to Madeline, he asked her if the thing that she saw could have been inspired by the film, and indeed she had seen it, like you had mentioned. Even if you're not convinced by the evidence or how Radford did all this research, simple logic should help you realize that El Chupacabra doesn't exist. Oh, look at you squint at me.
Of all of the cryptids we talked about, Chupacabra is where you draw the line.
I mean, I draw the line in a few other ones too. But I feel like you can't have a dog that literally sucks blood through its vampire teeth.
Why not?
You're saying this dog has hollow teeth that is as wide as a straw that sucks blood up through the hollow teeth. It completely drains these animals of their blood.
Why can't it be real?
For one thing, it would take a couple hundred to a few thousand of these creatures to keep the species alive. So, if each of those animals is 5 feet tall and weighs around 100 pounds, it would be pretty difficult for there to be no confirmed sightings or fossils, particularly on an island as small and as densely populated as Puerto Rico.
We're discovering new species every day.
In the ocean.
And on land.
For another thing, even if the beasts managed to hide, they'd still need a lot of food, and if they are actually vampires, then you'd expect to find a lot more blood-drained carcasses. Where are they all at?
Maybe they take a page from the hyena and they also devour.
Get out of here. It's only because we watched, what was that show on Disney Plus? Night Stalkers, that's what it was. We just recently watched that, so that's what you're going with, is that the Chupacabra is in the hyena family?
I mean,
and eats the entire thing, bones and all, and that's why.
sometimes.
But why are we finding some and not all, or not any?
You ever notice how whenever
Did you ever notice? Hashtag Letterkenny. Sorry.
The Chupacabra sightings are always the ones where there's still a body. But what about all the animals that the Chupacabra gets that we don't see?
It's because it's not happening.
Okay, then what's killing all these animals? Just coyotes?
Yeah.
Okay, and if the
Skinwalkers.
If the coyotes with this mange are so debilitated that they can only go after farm animals, why are they killing the animal but not eating it?
They just need the blood.
So they're vampires but not chupacabras?
They're in the vampire family.
That's what I'm saying. They're going to drain the blood.
So where's the rest of the bodies?
What do you mean? They eat
If there's so many being eaten, where are the bodies? Why are they only eating some bodies and not all of the bodies?
Because they get interrupted and they don't have time to eat the rest of the body.
Oh, I think you're stretching it.
So the actual name Chupacabra, for the animal anyway, is sometimes credited to a Puerto Rican comedian, Silverio Perez, who was a San Juan radio DJ at the time and gave the creature responsible for these attacks, or what they thought the creature responsible for these attacks was. He was the one that started referring to them as El Chupacabra, which is probably why a lot of people don't credit anything prior to that 1995 spike or like first sighting to Chupacabra, despite the commonality in the victims.
Okay, that being said, we're gonna touch that right there. Is you're saying that they just developed in 1995? Where were
No,
they before 1995?
no. I'm saying that they were documented before, but they weren't called chupacabras back then. And it wasn't until 95 when they got a lot more popularity
Because of the
or
movie.
publicity. A lot more publicity in 95. And somebody finally put a name to them. I was like, we're going to call these creatures chupacabras. And I was like, okay. So all the stuff that happened prior to 95, despite it potentially being the same creature, people aren't noting it because when you look for chupacabras, the term doesn't come about till 95.
So what are they calling it otherwise? Before 95.
Um,
The vampire one?
yeah, so the Mocha Vampire, and I don't know what the Pueblo was called off the top of my head.
So jumping back a little bit to what I had mentioned was that this fascinating feature of the chupacabra story is that the creature is said to have a bite that leaves 3 small puncture marks instead of the expected 2 puncture pattern that most predators leave behind. The 3 marks apparently were the size of a drinking straw, so that was why I mentioned that. And that leads most people to believe that the chupacabra is a unique threat that has not been classified under any of the existing animal species in today's world. Others are skeptic and believe, like me, there is more scientific explanation to the mysterious deaths of the animals and livestock. Additionally, each mark was said to be about 3 to 4 inches in length. Many who found the animals dead or came in contact with corpses later reported that all animals appeared to be completely drained of blood. Hashtag vampire family.
So you're saying these vampires have fallen on hard times and they can't find enough humans, so they go attack a goat or
Have
a
you
sheep?
seen Twilight?
No, I haven't, and
Well,
I'm okay with that.
early 2000 me is disappointed in you. Team Jacob all the way. Sorry.
So you're saying vampires are real, chupacabras aren't?
Yes,
Wow.
there's the line.
Apparently,
So, where are they found?
Central America, Puerto Rico, Southwest U.S., Texas, Arizona, kind of
So,
areas.
deserty.
And
Warm climate.
yes, warm climate. Yeah, I don't think there's a
Ah.
Arctic chupacabra like
Wouldn't
the
you know
Yeti.
it? Another good reason to live where the air hurts my face. No snakes and no chupacabra.
And we got Wendigo up here.
Ah, yes. I'll just jump into movies then,
Okay.
because there was quite a few. There was Rise of the Chupacabras in 2003. There was, what was it called?
Species.
Species in 1995. And then Rise of the Chupacabras in 2003. Chupacabra Terror, which we watched the trailer for that, looks ridiculous, but they're on a cruise,
Yeah,
a
cruise ship.
cruise ship, and somebody had brought one on the boat to ship it wherever they were going, I guess. That one came out in 2005. Then there's the Mexican Werewolf in Texas. That one also came out in 2005. Goat Sucker in 2009. Chupacabra versus the Alamo in 2013. Indigenous in 2014. Chupacabra Territory in 2016. And about 8,000 more movies. That was just a handful that I checked out. Then there's also a show, apparently, called The Imperfects.
Yeah, it's on Netflix. There's three, like late teens, early 20s, I forget their ages, people that sign up for some medication and it ends up altering them. And the guy that's the main character can turn into an El Chupacabra.
So the werewolf. Okay, so let's talk about that. What is the difference between El Chupacabra and a werewolf then? El Chupacabra is always a canine, not human?
Well, actually, that brings up a very interesting point. Daggum chupacabras are only ever spoken about as dogs. But going to your how come we haven't found the body is a crazy thought. What if they can transform into humans?
I literally just had the creepiest feeling like, ooh,
Maybe they're
they're walking among us.
yeah, and maybe they're
That
like
gives me the heebs.
werewolf vampire hybrid kind of
So,
like
Oh, okay. So vampires can be walking among us too then.
Obviously, I mean, at nighttime, not in the day.
Right,
The
because they'll
sun.
sparkle.
Yeah. Well, no, they hurt. They burn.
Never mind. That one went over your head. Okay, so you're saying that they could. But then they have to be the same thing as werewolf then.
With a vampire aspect of draining the victims.
So they're dog and vampire and human
Well,
hybrid.
well, werewolf is back and forth human dog.
Right.
Um, so really, it's just a werewolf vampire hybrid. It could fill in some of those gaps.
I feel like this is just all of the history of season one crammed into one animal.
Are you gonna tie in the Yeti into all this?
uh,
Arctic chupacabras.
yeah. Harry, I got
Yeah.
nothing.
Which chupacabras are not hairy. So actually, there you go. It's a hairless werewolf vampire hybrid.
Okay. So, books. I found, because I get a kick out of finding cryptid or scary stories turned into kids' books, I found Don't Eat Me, Chupacabra by Kyle Sullivan. And this kid's book is in Spanish and English while you're reading it. And it's about a goat trying to convince a single minded chupacabra that there are many other yummy things to eat besides him. I thought that was hilarious. Then there's another kid's book called The Chupacabra Ate the Candelabra by Mark Tyler Nobleman. You can get both of these at Target, by the way. This Chupacabra Ate the Candelabra is about three anxious goats that scramble to avoid being eaten by a chupacabra whose favorite food is not what they expect. I thought it was cute.
Uh, is his favorite food candelabras?
Yes, his favorite food is candelabras.
And talk about just destroying the mystery right out the
I
gate.
know. Spoiler alert.
Mm-hmm.
And for those comic book collectors like myself, I collect the Batman comic books. If you're interested, Teen Titans Academy, the Chupacabra had 13 appearances in, and Future State Teen Titans, it also had 2 appearances. There was a few other ones that kind of went with Teen Titans, and there was one in Shazam comic books that it made an appearance in. But if that's, your cup of tea and you want to check it out, definitely look those ones up. And despite the fact that I don't drink, and especially can't now, I still looked up drinks with the El Chupacabra name. One of them was tequila and Pimm's with fresh lemon juice, simple syrup, bitters, sliced cucumber, soda water. Another one that I found was a cocktail. That one, it is tequila in like all of them.
Well, that makes sense because places where the chupacabra is typically spotted are kind of fans of tequila. The other one that wouldn't surprise me is if it contained rum, but not a lot of mainly vodka based societies are spotting chupacabras, so they're probably not going to name a drink after.
Well, this cocktail had tequila, lemon juice, mango juice, green lime juice, vanilla soda, hot sauce, rim sugar, and lemon wedges for a garnish. And I just can't do tequila. Like, after my birthday at Texas Roadhouse with some of my friends having those tequila tube shots, that just ruined tequila for me because it tasted like I just sprayed bug spray straight into my mouth. Like, it was just horrible.
Yeah, those aren't typically the best quality.
Yeah. Then the last drink I'll do is the Chupacabra shot. For those of you that like shots, you do a half ounce of Irish cream and a half ounce of black sambuca.
Interesting.
Sounds gross.
I wonder if it's because of the color?
Maybe.
Or what about that would be affiliated with chupacabras?
I don't know.
I don't think
I would have thought, like, there's those shots that are like the brain stem shots. Do you know what I'm talking about? They look like literal, like, body parts in the shot. And I would have assumed something like that. Or, red shots because of the blood,
Yeah, I can give you that. So we've established chupacabras are werewolf vampire hybrids, and they are among us.
Mm-hmm.
Agreed?
No, I don't agree. But, I mean, if I can believe in Mothman, I suppose I could probably believe in El Chupacabra. Were they on with Dean, with the Winchesters? Were they on that show?
I think there were a couple episodes.
I feel like they were, yeah.
I think there also might be an X-Files episode or two, if I remember correctly off the top of my head.
Man, do you remember those days watching X-Files? Did you ever watch that?
No, that wasn't really our
Of
thing
all
at the
the
house.
things that I was not allowed to watch as a kid, X-Files was one of those things that I just happened to be able to watch because my older step-sibling was allowed to watch it. And I tell you, that was nightmare. That was probably where my love for the creepy started, was probably there, or the Crypt Keeper. I was allowed to watch that, which makes no sense.
Apparently, the 5th episode of the 2nd season of The Walking Dead is entitled Chupacabra.
Didn't watch it.
Never really seen Walking Dead. Monster Quest in 2008, there was a Chupacabra episode, When Monsters Attack, on the Season 1, Episode 8, Travel Channel. Expedition Unknown, Season 7, Episode 7, Hunt for the Chupacabra.
So, I don't know if you remember listening a few episodes back when we talked about when Will retires and we go across the country in our food truck hunting all of these cryptids. I think we might have to add El Chupacabra to the list because I'm pretty confident I could sell some street tacos in Texas because that would be a blast. Yeah. Except for the fact that there's things there that can kill me, like scorpions and snakes and spiders. And you know what? Maybe we'll skip Texas.
Episode 8 of Season 4 of Grimm.
Oh.
Also was about chupacabras.
I think we should rewatch that. In case you don't know what we're talking about, there's a show called Grimm, and definitely one of my top 5 favorite shows ever because it talks about a lot of stuff like this, and definitely suggest to watch it. Well, okay, I guess that's all we got for the Chupacabra. If you want to check out any of what we were talking about during this episode, I included the links in the show notes so that way you can check out what we're talking about. We both looked in the United States of Cryptids book and the Badass The Birth of a Legend book, which we've mentioned before in other episodes. We looked on a few different websites to follow this. So if you're interested, feel free to check it out. And since this is the last episode of the season, we will be taking next week off and picking up the following week. Like I mentioned in the beginning, make sure to follow us on our website. Make sure to follow us on Spotify and Amazon Music. And as always, catch us next time. Hey guys. Real quick, before I let you go for the end of season 1, I just have to shout out my friend Andrew Egan. We've been friends since high school, and he is a great photographer. He took the photos of mine and William's wedding, and he just put out a book. It's called The Abandoned Book, Thoughts and Decay. Andrew went around and took pictures of places that were falling down, places that were abandoned, obviously, and attached his poetry to it. Just dropped today on Amazon, March 1st, and you can get it as a hardcover for $34.99 or a paperback for $27.99. Up here in Alaska, I can get it pretty quickly, so I know you guys everywhere else can probably get it pretty quickly as well. It's definitely one that you want to keep on your coffee table or, carry with you if you need a little dose of poetry during your day. The link is in the show notes, so check it out, or go on your Amazon, on your phone, on your own, type in The Abandoned Book, Thoughts and Decay. It's spelled Thoughts X Decay, but it's Thoughts and Decay, and pick up a copy for me and Andrew. If you are an author or you have your own business, don't forget to message me. I can shout you out on my show. Bye.